Hello and welcome back to the third rail. We are off to Italy today, well, figuratively speaking. We are going to take care of this rake of suburban coaches that has been gathering dust on one of my shelves for the last few months. Previous owners have done quite a bit of work to make them usable on a three-rail system, but unfortunately they don't run quite right on my layout, so in this episode I am going to have a go at fixing this. This will require fitting new coupling kinematics, something I have never done before, so there is a good potential for mishaps. I am writing this voiceover as I go along, so I have no idea at this stage, but I am pretty sure this episode will feature a bit of chopping, gluing, and other activities I usually stay as far away from as possible. If you are partial to the occasional bit of schadenfreude, you might have landed in the right place today. Before we set off, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe and alert button before leaving today. Super thanks are also available if you feel the content deserves it. Whatever the option you choose will be much appreciated. Many thanks. Now, on to our topic. So what have we got here? These coaches were released by Lima in the 1980s. I think the first year of production was 1984. They represent double-decker coaches introduced by the Italian state railways, which are called the FS for the rest of the video, on high-frequency lines in 1979. I am not familiar with the FS, but it looks like these coaches were mostly used in the north of the country, around Milan and its surroundings. Italian viewers might be able to confirm this. Please feel free to leave a comment. They are known as Casaralta, type 1979, Casaralta being the name of the manufacturer, who were based in Bologna. They are in original livery, called navetta in Italian, which I think translates to shuttle. They might look familiar to long-term followers of the channel, who might remember very similar coaches I presented a few years ago. I put a little link at the top. And you wouldn't be wrong, as the design of the prototype stems from the one used for a series of coaches built for the French SNCF in the 1970s. I have one of them here. It is made by Jouef in a SNCF livery. Casaralta acquired the license and adapted the design. I think the main differences when compared with the original design are the roof, the access to the cabs on the pilot car, and the Fiat bogies used in Italy. So why did I get these? If you follow the channel, you know that I collect items produced by Märklin in the 1980s. And I like to run them, as they would have done at the time, with matching items from the collection. This is not always possible, as there were a few locomotives for which there was nothing suitable in the catalogues of the period. In such cases, I try and find models from other manufacturers. To stay in keeping with the 1980s theme of the collection, I try and pick something that was on sale around the same time. The coaches we are looking at today were bought for this locomotive. It is model number 3162, an E424 of the FS in navetta livery, released in 1988. I am unsure the coaches and the locomotive are an exact match, and the pictures you can find tend to show it together with another type of suburban coaches. But I think the locomotive was fitted with the equipment required to operate these coaches, so it is not inconceivable. At least the livery is matching, and that will do as far as I'm concerned. The coaches came as is, no box, and they are not in the best of shape, but they have a few party tricks. They have been fitted with 3 rail axles and have interior lighting. Look at that! And inside we have passengers too. Plenty of them all over the place even. Nice effect. So quite a bit of work and expense has gone into this rake already. So what's happening? The source of the problem is located under the coaches. For the interior lighting, every coach was fitted with a pickup shoe and homemade ground contacts in addition to the AC axles. As far as the setup goes, it is a bit of a parts bin special. This is not a critic of the previous owners. I am sure this is something every tinkerer does. I would have done the same given the state of the coaches. What matters is that it works at the end. Most of the original couplings have been chopped off, and Märklin couplings, also chopped, have been attached instead, mostly with bolts. Here I am a bit puzzled as to why this was done, as the resulting distance between coaches is not noticeably different. But there must have been a reason. So we've seen that the lighting works. Let's see what is happening on the track. So we have lost a coach already. We'll pick it up on the way back. The train seems to be behaving now. It wasn't when I tested it before. Is this going to be a short video? Well, it looks like it. We're about to go full circle with no problem. Okay, let's try again. We're going to push the coach we left behind. Ah, it has derailed. And the coach is behind the loco too. And that is our problem. So we'll stop here. Basically, the coaches cannot run reliably anywhere on the layout. We have a couple of issues. The couplings are not fitted at the same height on all coaches, and they aren't centered with the bogies. As a result, they cannot negotiate the curves and turnouts reliably. The next issue has to do with some of the pickup shoes, which are too low when retracted, and as a result, lift their bogie off the track on turnouts where the center point contacts are taller. I will need to replace at least one of them. It's a fat Rocco Whisper type pickup shoe, and I might need to tinker with the others, but that is a minor thing. Whatever I end up doing, I first need to address the coupling situation. One option would be to replace the bogies. This part was used on a few Lima models in the 1980s, so it should be possible to find part donors. I doubt it would be economically viable to get stuff shipped from abroad, and this wouldn't be an easy job as I'd have to reinstall everything, which I'd like to avoid. The next option would be to retrofit some form of couplings. There are a handful of solutions around which all consist of a kinematic, also known as slot guide mechanism, and mostly NEM-style pocket attachments. Here's Rocco's, for example, which looks good and is relatively affordable. However, they are quite bulky, and I think that fitting them would involve quite a bit of surgery. Then we have Fleischmann. The system looks more compact and self-contained, but I couldn't find any dimensions to check the fit, and at €13 a pair they are also quite expensive. My coaches are simply not worth this expense. Then we have Ribot, which I think is the oldest of all the systems. This looks very good in principle, it's affordable, but it requires quite a bit of assembly before fitting, and this aspect rules them out for me. And then we have Symoba, which has been around for years too. This is the system I have chosen because I could find all the information I needed regarding dimensions, handling and fit online on their website, and they are also available from good old Peter Spares in the UK. Even better. And here they are. I bought a starter kit and a few additional bits. The starter kit contains a selection of bits and pieces, a few kinematics, different types of NEM pockets, and a gauge to help position them. The content of the kit is enough to equip 3 coaches. The core of the system is the kinematic. It is a compact square-shaped box with an articulated post, which is spring-loaded. The attachments simply slide on the post. So far, so good. The kinematic base is flat, so it can be glued in position on the chassis. All pretty straightforward. So let's proceed with the installation. First, I need to make some space under the coach. I need to remove the Märklin coupling. And with that done, I can check the fit. So what's left of the coupling arm will come in the way. So that bit will need to be shortened. Otherwise, there is plenty of clearance between the chassis and the bogie, so the kinematic shouldn't be in the way. Okay, time for some cutting. I'll use my Dremel and a cutting disc, so I'll do this off camera. One moment, please. Okay, that's done, and I have plenty of space now. So let's check the fit. We have a nice indentation in the body we can use as a reference to position the kinematic. I don't think I'd be able to achieve a close coupling look without major surgery, but that isn't a problem. If I simply position it against the edge of the chassis, I achieve the same distance as with the original couplings, and that's good enough for me. Okay, time to mix some glue. So I'll use some 2-part epoxy. This one I have here cures fast, but in stages. The bond will be strong enough to do some testing after a few minutes, but still allow to pull the coupling off and reposition it if need be. And once that bit is done, the epoxy will then cure fully over a few hours. So I'll do a bit of mixing, then apply some glue or epoxy, then position the coupling, measure from both sides to make sure I'm in the center. Cool, that's it. All I need to do now is wait a few minutes. Okay, it's been 15 minutes and I can now position the name pockets. They are simply pressed on the post, and we can adjust the height using the coupling gauge that simply plugs into the pocket. So we can check that on the track. So don't do what I did here. The gauge clips on the track too. I've done a shot afterwards, like so. You can see the gauge is firmly attached to the rail, and it's when it's in this position that you can test the height. I rectified the height on the coaches once I noticed that later on. So that's the bit that's out of sequence. But so you know, I did it properly in the end. And with that done, the post needs to be shortened. I wasn't too aggressive here to be able to have some flexibility to adjust things again if need be. And with this done on another coach, we can do a quick test over a combination of crossing and turnout, which is always a tricky spot for couplings. And it looks we are fine. Let's try the other direction. Yeah, that looks okay. So now I just need to do this on all the other coaches. And we are back. Everything is fitted and adjusted. I have kept the original couplings that were still intact at both ends of the consist. I am not sure if I need to glue the NEM pockets on their posts. For now, friction seems to be enough to keep them in place. I can always revisit this later on. I have also reconfigured the pickup shoe on one of the coaches, where I replaced the fat Roco whisper thingy with a Märklin one. That was pretty simple, just a bit of soldering. And I've also tinkered with some of the attachments for the pickup shoes here and there. I have kept the brass strips but removed some of the white plastic bits that were used and changed the screws to gain more clearance on turnouts. So we can now couple the coaches. And we can see that the uncoupling works too. Now we can attach the loco. There we'll need some help from the hand of God for the loop. The couplings are not exactly on the same level, but their faceplates seem to overlap enough to not slip and lock during braking or changes of direction. We'll try it like that first. I can always adjust the locomotive coupling later if need be. Alright, let's see how we get on now. So we'll go first around the outer loop. Well, that's already much better, isn't it? I need to clean the wheels to try and lessen the flickering of the interior lighting. But what matters now is that the coaches stay on the track. Well, I say the first test was successful. Now let's try the long route where we have crossings and tighter right eye. We'll start from the outer loop again. Now we'll enter the inner part of the line. The turnouts and crossings were no problem on that side, as wobbly as usual. We have turned around now and we are heading towards the station. Still no problem. And we'll head back to the main line over the crossings from the other side. Super! And we need to go around the loop again. I'm gonna stop on the inside at the top. Now let's be adventurous. Can we run in push mode? Let's reverse. It's looking pretty good so far. Let's see what happens after the station. There we go. Easy. Well, these kinematics work very well. It's not a given to be able to push coaches these days, even on new stuff, so I'm very impressed. Well, this wasn't too complicated. Good first impression. I now have another weapon in my arsenal, which I won't hesitate to use again, should the need arise. Sorry for the lack of schadenfreude I hinted at the beginning of the video. So, I leave things here for today. Many thanks for spending so much of your valuable time with me today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please let others know with a little thumbs up, a comment, or even a subscription. Thanks so much for your support. Until next time, bye for now.